All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that is actually the case over on Rumble as well. We got a lot to cover today. Originally, it was going to be 8 news stories, but then we got breaking news like 20 minutes ago, I think, or something like that. The Queen Elizabeth is now under medical supervision. They're worried about her health, so that will be the main story of the day. Of course, she's a certain age. In fact, I'll fact check it live. Queen Elizabeth age. How old is she? She's 96, so... her health is supposedly deteriorating. Yeah, she had blue hands the other day at the Liz Truss meeting, so I guess that's not a good sign. It could be related to heart problems specifically. So she's under medical supervision right now, according to Buckingham Palace. So we'll be covering that. Let me make sure that we're live on Rumble though, really quickly, before we get into this. Yes, we are live on Rumble, and I see the chat is indeed working. Lots of people pouring in already. There's over 600 people watching just on YouTube right now. Maybe we're scooping some of the legacy media that have priority channels. So share the link out because, otherwise people aren't going to get any unbiased analysis of anything we're talking about today. Anyway, main news story. Doctors concerned over Queen Elizabeth's health, Buckingham Palace says. A statement by the palace said the Queen remains comfortable. That's, by the way, not normally a good term to use when someone has health issues and they're above 75. She's remaining comfortable. Yeah, so you got her on opiates or something? She's in a coma at the moment. At Balmoral Castle in Scotland, where she remains under medical supervision. Imagine how embarrassing she dies in Scotland instead of Bonnie, England. Hi, Leaf 11. Greetings, sir. This is Colonel Asheville reporting on the situation with the Turks. We have been pushing them back, but they are a determined foe. We're not going to be doing Pixel Planet today. Link in the description on both platforms, as well as pinned above if you're watching on YouTube. I ask that you vote for me and for my cat for the Grifty Awards. Yes, that'll be coming up, of course, early next year. And we've been supplanted. Somehow our cat is in 5th place, so you can vote every hour. So just do that. For Clankdom. Dire Fitty, Ruger has a new carbine in 5.7 that shares magazines with the 5.7 handgun. Would make a nice pair. Also, we need clankers to defend the Greek flag. Yeah, we're not doing a Pixel Planet invasion today. We're talking about Queen Elizabeth purportedly having some health issues here. When you're 96 and the doctors say you're remaining comfortable, that's normally back off. The family is flying in right now and, making arrangements. So Queen Elizabeth may actually croak. She had problems, it seemed, the other day. There's a picture here. You can see it. Britain's Queen Elizabeth and the new Conservative Party leader and Britain's Prime Minister-elect Liz Truss meet at Balmoral Castle in Ballater, Scotland on September 6th, where the Queen invited Truss to form a government. And people were pointing out that her hands looked decrepit. When you have vascular issues, that can happen. Yeah. TJ Mars, if the old bat bites the dust, I say we give them Biden. He can be their queen. Or Booty Judge. That would probably work better. Ironically, would maybe do a better job. The British royalty has pissed away their empire, and now they're on life support, much like Queen Elizabeth appears to be at the moment. I'm not a fan of monarchies generally. Some are better than others. Like the Dutch monarchy here, like they sort of just deliver some scripted speeches once in a while, and otherwise, it's at fundraisers and stuff like that. In England, it's more of a national pastime, it seems, and there's a lot more intrigue. You think of Princess Diana or Camilla or things like that. Yeah, we'll send Pete Buttigieg to replace her, actually. We're recolonizing the old world now from the new world. That's going to be what we do. Yes, you can go on Pixel Planet and continue pixeling in all of Turkey with that Greek blue color if you want. I may make a video about that later, but today we've got other things to talk about. The main thing, of course, is that doctors are concerned over Queen Elizabeth's health. By the way, we'll do a live news update here in case we got anything new. She's under medical supervision. We've got some outlets reporting she's in deteriorating health. I'm seeing no corroboration. But then you get a story from June 24th. This is from the New York Post. Queen Elizabeth fading away before our eyes, says royal expert. Yeah, I mean, she's 96. She's been decrepit for a long time. She can barely stand. Ironically, still in better health than Joe Biden, both mentally and physically. Hell, even if she croaks, her corpse will be in better mental health than the president of the United States. This should probably bother people. Corey Alexander, people who like the crown and obsess over it in America are weirdos. Yeah, I never understood. Why would they care? England is no longer a foe, specifically. The UK is a close ally of the United States at this point, but it's a foreign monarch, and who gives a shit? She just gets replaced by someone else. I guess it's Prince Charles' turn. Maybe he'll abdicate and there'll be someone else. Wow, shalom from the Holy Land Sticks. Been watching ever since Sargon suggested you. My views have become more libertarian due to you. Thank you for everything. Now shut up and take my shekels. Gladly. By the way, I think you're the first person to actually donate with actual shekels. That's not just a meme. It is the actual currency of Israel. I've got a few, actually, in my collection. I collect foreign coins. I've got it from, I think, about 110 different countries, including a few that don't exist anymore. Got some Hong Kong currency from back when, they hadn't been subjugated by the Chinese. Mr. Wonderful. In a leaked phone conversation between Charles and Camilla years ago, Charles said to her he wants to come back as her tampon, the next king, by the way. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's not trolling, by the way. Dave Minky, hooray! I caught the start of a live stream. By the way, your cats have slipped to 5th place at the Grifties. Yes, that's why the link is in the description on both platforms, as well as pinned at the top if you're watching on YouTube. Please do vote for my cat, as well as for me, myself, and I, in the Grifties. The Hoteps are doing it. I figure we've got to be competitive. We've got to be much more competitive. We're in 5th place with the cat. I think I'm in 24th place. Unacceptable. We'll review more news here and see if there's anything that's in the last half hour. Doctors concerned for Queen Elizabeth's health advise her to rest. So they saw her hands and said, look, your heart can't take this anymore. You're going to have to be bedridden. So, I mean, yeah, you look at the writing on the wall at some point. But then we see some saying her health is deteriorating. Her health is causing concern. This is the legacy media, by the way. 101. Queen Elizabeth's doctors are concerned for her health, Buckingham Palace says. Yeah, no, really? A 96-year-old? You're concerned for their health? She's under medical supervision. See, MSN is in the last couple of minutes. Just in, Queen Elizabeth's health deteriorates. Doctors worried. But the thing is, it looks like that's just their adaptation of the original story. None of the original takes actually talk about it deteriorating. They're talking originally about her doctors simply advising her to get more rest. Who the fuck knows? She could croak in the next day. She could croak during the live stream. Draven Ocklaws. The Queen is dying. Will the Big Ben explode too? Dave Minky. Thoughts on Larry Elder's prediction? Kay Harris has to be 2024 nominee or black women will stay home on election night. I think that they'll stay home if Kamala Harris is the nominee, actually. BW, no offense, Sticks, but why do we care about the Queen? Will it make any difference if she dies? Also, how we doing on polls? Which polls? U.S. politics? Pixel Planet? I don't know which ones you mean. I don't really care about the British monarchy, but it is still big news. I mean, their nation will be, well, half of them will mourn if she dies. The other half the leftoids will probably be happy. Anyway, we will get to other news as well, but I will be sporadically checking up on that story because it is breaking. At this moment, Queen Elizabeth is under medical supervision. We have no clue how bad that is, but when they say she's remaining comfortable, the general tendency is when someone with a clear health issue, as she has had for a couple of days now, and is in their 90s, she's 96 years old, and you say, don't worry, they're comfortable. That's palliative care. To be clear, she could already be dead. But they're not going to, I mean, they would go haywire covering the story, making sure that every fucking thing was lined up. Okay, here's her corpse. Start prettying it up. We're going to need to talk to the press, get the family in here, get all the heads of state, etc. need to get in here because we're going to have to plan a fucking parade and lying in state and all of these other things. It would be quite something. She's been in power for a very long time. Power, relatively speaking, over a dying empire. Josie, Reuters is reporting that nearly 60% of all Americans agree with Joe Biden's speech that MAGA is a threat, despite it being panned for rhetoric. How is that possible? He swayed so many people with approval so low. I don't think that 60% of Americans agree with him. I think that the panning of the speech is the real polling. And I don't care what Reuters has to say, because they've gone on a tirade against content creators and much more over the last few weeks. So clearly disingenuous, just like Washington Post. Next story. And don't worry, we'll return to Queen Elizabeth sporadically here. You'll have to remind me. The Democrats' best message for the midterms: democracy is in grave peril, by Osita Nwanevu. This is a Democratic opinion from The Guardian, so not even U.S. News. Republicans' efforts to delegitimize the electoral process should trouble us greatly. Democrats ought to hammer this home. What I see here is Orange Man bad, and Orange Man bad needs to be the campaign platform. Don't talk about inflation, because you can't. Don't talk about gas prices, because you can't. Don't talk about crime, because you can't. Don't talk about the border, because you can't. Don't talk about foreign policy, because people are starting to get really pissed off about the fact that you keep sending billions every other week to Ukraine while people in the United States are suffering. Can't talk about Korea. Can't talk about Ukraine. Can't talk about anything. Well, you don't have a platform. Your platform is, hey, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on a politically charged student loan debt forgiveness plan that will really screw the working class. So since you don't have anything else to run on, simply say Orange Man bad and expect people to vote for you as retribution, because Orange Man, who's not even in the running at the moment, might come back, and that's scary. So please vote Democratic. That's basically what they're suggesting. And it does appear to be what the Democrats are going with, at least the neoliberals. There are some Democrats out there that are distancing themselves from the Biden administration completely. They don't want Biden in ads. They don't want Biden showing up for rallies. They don't talk about Biden. If asked about Biden, they deflect. I think this is rather telling. Supposedly, there's this blue surge. Biden is really recovered in the polls. Well, then why are Dem candidates not grabbing him up as a proxy and sucking his cock to come and make a 10-minute speech before they go on stage? None of them are. Yeah, Fetterman is going to, hey, Joe, you want to show up for me? I know that I have trouble speaking, and arguably less than you do. Actually, Fetterman is the more coherent one. Will you prattle on for 5 minutes about how great a guy I am and how I'll lead Pennsylvania into a socialist utopia? Hey, Joe, please come and help me with the press. I need you to answer some hard questions for me. Who's doing that? This is going to be the midterms from hell for the Democrats. They know it, and that's why they're distancing. The idea that you can go into a midterms where the economy is the number one issue and crime and the border and other issues are secondary, and simply say the last guy was evil. He's trying to usurp the electoral process, which you've been saying anyway now for a year and a half. And before that, you were saying he was a traitor, he's crazy, he's going to start World War III. All of your other predictions fell through. The idea that you'll be capable of, actually hammering that message home and getting votes, I think only works on people that were likely to vote for Democrats in the first place. Trump derangement syndrome extends to some Republicans, the never MAGA crowd, but they're very few and far between. Really, MAGA has managed to usurp the entire Republican Party. So, Mr. Wonderful, not a troll about Charles's tampon comment. It is infamously known as Tampon Gate or Camilla Gate. Well, I guess at least he was attracted to her, Big Chris, Lake, only Arizona politician talking about water. Vote. BW, I mean U.S. politics. I'm sure leftoids will demand they make strong black women Markle queen. Who cares about the rules of secession? Yeah. No, I don't think that Kamala Harris will ever be in the White House unless Joe Biden croaks. She can't win an election on her own merits because she doesn't have any. Please name an accomplishment. Border czar who'd ever visited the border? Well, yeah, no, teleconferenced in absentee vice presidency with regards to her major appointed role by the Biden administration. That's really a winning message. I think Biden would get more electoral votes than Kamala. Orwell's goon, watching from the hospital cafeteria, waiting for doctors to induce my wife. Both huge fans, grifting for well wishes and clanks. Good luck and have fun. Yeah, seeing your wife give birth is quite something else. So enjoy the spectacle. Mr. Friendly Bee, Sticks, we're exhausted. Can't you call for a truce or make peace with the Nazis and ask their help, or rather another YouTuber for the help of his followers like Salty Cracker? They could make a lot of the Salt Must Flow banners. Well, we've been driving the African Nazi people, the Fibonazis, on Pixel Planet back now for weeks and weeks. They've lost day after day more and more territory. And I did get a tip, by the way, not to linger on the point of Pixel Planet because we're not doing a raid today, at least until later. One person did tip me off to the fact that they had realized what their bot algorithm actually pertains to. And the idea is that if enough of their swastikas are gone, it can no longer reference the old data points in order to rebuild its algorithm. And so the faster that the smaller ones go, the better. Thankfully, we're making steady progress day by day. I don't understand all this programming shit. Although I did program a calculator once. And I had a swear word matrix program on there, and you executed it, and a bunch of like fucking damn and shit and stuff would fall down the screen slowly. Thought it was great at the time. Managed to figure that out. J.K. Rowling's book frames herself as being persecuted by bloodthirsty trans supporters. Her new book reveals how blithely unaware Rowling is, seeing herself as a victim of a community she has targeted. Yes, indeed, J.K. Rowling derangement syndrome. The left has gone so far left that J.K. Rowling, a noted third-wave feminist and extreme leftoid, is no longer palatable to them, which must suck for her because she's not exactly going to find a home with the right wing now, is she? I guess she's going to be a Liz Truss voter next time around. J.K. Rowling's latest installment in her Cormoran Strike mystery series, The Ink Black Heart, which recently published under her very public pseudonym, Robert Galbraith, coincidentally centers around a public figure who gets canceled for being a transphobe. The poor thing even ends up getting murdered. The character, Edie Ledwell, a well-known cartoonist, gets persecuted by former fans turned vicious trolls who also coincidentally accuse her of being racist and ableist. Well, yeah, I mean, she is literally accused for things like that. She's called a bigot because she wants women to be in women's sports and stuff like that. There was a time only a few years ago where this was not a loaded opinion, by the way, and you weren't considered anything phobic for having it. You believe that women should be protected, that women should be treated equally. I'm not understanding why this is considered divisive. To be clear, J.K. Rowling is not transphobic. J.K. Rowling gets dogpiled by even further leftists because the problem is, if you're a leftist activist, or have been for many years, and you live to be more than 40, you will inevitably be overshadowed by younger leftoids with even more insane opinions that will attempt to cancel you. It's not like cancel culture is a new thing. Fucking the very concept of political correctness was satirized in the 90s, and it was a running joke, actually, at the time. I was going to cover this, actually, in a live stream, but I had to bump it because there was more pertinent news. Apparently, there's early 90s satire that's basically on the subject of what's happening now with the pink-haired freak crowd. The fact is that J.K. Rowling has become too old, and she's no longer hip enough. She doesn't have edgy enough opinions like, hey, genetics, who gives a fucking shit about genetics? Hey, everyone should be a millionaire. That'll work, right? Hey, Fidel Castro actually had some pretty good ideas. Let's have our Che Guevara shirts on and we'll pick up our hammer and sickle. And the fact is that someone who has opinions that were considered relatively edgy even 5 years ago, which is the case with Rowling, is now completely defunct. It is the final nail in the coffin, we hope, of Rowling's transphobic legacy. Yes, okay. I'm sure that she feels very, very sad about the fact that she can roll around in literal piles of money like Ebenezer fucking Scrooge. I mean, she doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't she still have the Harry Potter train? I thought it was funny. They were talking about having a get-together with all of the Harry Potter people. And Emma Watson, who owes her entire fucking career to J.K. Rowling existing, is like, well, I don't want to go if J.K. Rowling does. As though anyone gives a shit, dude. You're best known for being Hermione Granger. I can't name a single thing that you've done since then. She's been in movies and done modeling and acting and shit like that, but does anyone really give a damn? No. You were created by a character from J.K. Rowling's imagination. It's very, very funny. Yeah. What's more, the book reveals how blithely unaware Rowling is, one of the most influential and wealthy people in the world, a cisgender white woman. Oh my God. Sees herself as the victim of the minoritized community. There's a newspeak term. She is targeted. When? I see her getting targeted constantly. This is after, by the way, insinuating that Hermione Granger is black and Dumbledore is actually a homosexual. A community that doesn't have nearly the same platform or reach she has. Have you seen the Keffels thing going on right now? I would say that people who are part of the transgendered sort of thing have quite a reach. You know, nobody dares to criticize anything that's said, even if it has nothing to do with gender identity, because they'll get called transphobic. Hence Rowling's point. Her sense of victimhood is the icing on the bigoted and unpalatable cake. And this is, of course, what site is this from? This is MSNBC. So keep in mind, this is a relatively lame stream legacy media. They can't stand it. She's totally transphobic. Adam THM, Sticks, when do you think they will end the mask mandates to see a doctor or be in a hospital? They'll hold off as long as possible. Sticks' wife, drill bits attacked my hand when I reached in there. Steve Watt, if the queen croaks, I will feel sorry for her taxidermy artist, Sticks. Yeah, maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll plasticize her body like that crazy German dude does. And he gets dead bodies and then he chemically processes them and they turn basically to plastic. And then they have them all on display and it's just, most people find it kind of weird. Silky Johnson, if these were saner times and a world leader passes unexpectedly, what effects could that have on a global scale, if any at all? Clanks for Kitty. Normally world leader passes and people express mourning unless they were total shit fuck. So it's like Pol Pot or something. In this hyper politicized climate, I expect that people that don't like the current British government will just basically moon the dead body. So Jim Bob, Sticks, if you had any guess, who do you think the Democratic Party will finally complete their party transformation? 2028, 2032? I think that they need to suffer a major drubbing in an election before they take their heads out of the sand, stop being a goddamn ostrich, stop being stupid, and actually reform their party. I don't know when it'll happen. Sticks' wife, please make peace with the other tools. Ah, yes, the toolbox meme. Alabaster Smidge, what's your favorite kind of cheese? Thanks. Totally depends on what it's being used for. If you're putting it in grilled cheese, Munster. Absolutely Munster. Or Port Salut, which is very similar. It's slightly milder and less salty. If it's on like a cracker or something, just like an hors d'oeuvre, blue cheese. And I think that the Danish blue would be my favorite there. If I'm just eating a piece of cheese, I'd say Swiss. Very, very dry, very, very aged, nutty Swiss specifically. Colin Madden, kids in the hall did amazingly prescient send-up of PC culture set in a college art class. 92, I think? I don't know. By the way, we have several over on Rumble. Joker 1, Hurricane K will dump much-needed rain on Southern California this weekend. CNN states K will extend extreme heat in South California. CNN can't acknowledge good climate news, so why listen to them about anything? Yeah, why would you listen to them? And also, the photo of classified docs includes, God damn it, Frame Time magazine cover Sticks. If I throw out old Time mags from my dad's house, will that be considered obstruction by the DOJ? At this point, maybe. Jank Uger's Sweaty Gunt. Make an app where you keep track of your official predictions with links to the videos where you make them, and people can bet on them. Eventually, it'll extend to predictions from other creators. Not a bad choice, actually. Not a bad idea. Let's check up on Queen Elizabeth, see if she's still breathing. We could get breaking news if she's croaked at any given time. Go to the news. Anytime? No, I want it from the past hour. They've been concerned over her health for half a decade now, so yeah, we don't have any new news, I suppose. Queen Elizabeth is under medical supervision, by the way, to anyone that didn't hear the beginning of this live stream. People there are concerned over her health. But I love seeing the legacy media shuffle that into she is in deteriorating condition. She's on death's doorstep. She's not expected to make it and stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. She's 96. She's clearly got some health issues. Royal family is rushing to be at Queen Elizabeth's side as doctors are concerned for her health. Also on MSN. Interesting that the two major deviations that I see here from the main line, which is, hey, the doctors are concerned, told her to take it easy. She's in bed and relaxing right now. Both happen to be from MSN. Least reliable news network, other than maybe Reuters at this point, I suppose. The Atlantic can give them a run for their money. Love it. So I'll be on death watch, I guess, all night. I have to make cottage pie later and everything else because it's a comfy day with rain and cloudy weather. So I want something nice and hearty. So I'm going to make really, really buttery, extremely herby and creamy mashed potatoes, smush in the hamburger. And of course, then, you have lots and lots of veggies, carrots and peas mainly. You can use corn. You can use whatever you want, actually, and make a cottage pie. Originally, I was planning to make soup. Actually, I thought about mushroom soup, but thought against it. Liz didn't want soup, so cottage pie it is. White Owl 217, OnlyFans has made $3.86 billion in 2021. Yeah, more power to them, I guess. Animander Rake, really enjoyed your debate with Dave Smith. Both of you made some great points. Did he change your opinion on anything? No, because that's not the point of a debate, and I'm sure I didn't change his opinion. The point of a debate is to appeal to the undecided watcher, not to appeal to the opponent. Moby Hornet, what is up with the GCPA bill that will allow legacy media to form cartels to bargain with big tech? Lol. I'll have to look into that. I haven't heard of it. Jebediah Kerman, your thoughts on the cash-only movement? Is that like the elimination of digital currency or something like that? I like using cash. I want choices. I want to be able to use cash, card, crypto, bartering, selling myself into temporary servitude, whatever. Yidris, the UK government allowed babies to die because they had heart issues, even though the Italian government said they were willing to provide treatment. I say give the Queen the same treatment. Yeah, we don't know exactly what's wrong with her, but clearly there is some sort of medical problem. They wouldn't come out and announce this unless there was something fairly wrong. So she may not make it. She's 96 years old. Joker 1, for the Queen story, use BBC, lefty climate change porn pervs, but they can actually do news on occasion. Yeah, I probably should use a British site. TJ Mars, the people that are worried about who will take over after the Queen, forget that. We had Bush, Clinton, Obama, and now Biden. We know poor leadership. Yeah. Next story. This is epic. By the way, links in the description. Make sure to watch this for yourself later. You have fucking pin it or something. Posobiec reporting here. Breaking. Reporter asks Carrie Lake if she will be Trump's VP. Gets absolutely blown aback by her answer. I made a video this morning on this subject. I genuinely believe, based on Carrie Lake's her response, the way in which she speaks and carries herself, I think that she's in the running for a future presidential candidacy. And she may very well win and become the first legitimately elected female president if that happens. Of course, you're not going to get that from Kamala. She'd be appointed because Biden would croak. She can't win on her own. Hillary's out, and that leaves the field fairly thin. She tells him no. I talk to Trump all the time, but I wouldn't accept that because I want to be Arizona governor. So she's playing up to the Arizona voter base. That's smart. That's number one. She's saying, by the way, I notice you people ask me all these questions. I'm always here to be your punching bag. Where's my opponent? She won't answer any of your questions. So she strikes her opponent, number two. She talks well about Trump and makes it clear that it's a state race, number three, and technically point number four. And then rants about the legacy media and said, well, I'm here to answer your questions. I know you're going to misframe what I say and you don't like me, but I'm actually here. My opponent's not. This is the way that you should answer the legacy media if you have to talk with them at all. I think that's good. I believe she'll win the Arizona gubernatorial race. I don't think it'll even be necessarily that close. And that'll be part of the red wave, by the way. And if she chooses to launch a future presidential career, she's got one major advantage. She's from a swing state. Yes, I know Razor says, no, it's not really a swing state. Okay, statistically speaking, it's close enough to deem a lean state rather than wildly red or something like that. Carrie Lake, I think, will win. I think that after Trump is gone after a second term, presumably, and possibly a term or two from someone else after that, Carrie Lake would be a good choice. In fact, if it were like Trump ran 2024, he could definitely do far worse than choosing Carrie Lake as a running mate. It'd be a dream team, actually. Probably better than DeSantis. Little bit of analysis. Wow, soup is the best. It's nutritious, filling, easy to make, cheap, and you can make a lot at once and taste great as well. Perfect all year round, except when you have really hot weather, unless it's a really spicy soup. I'm not a really big fan of soup when it's hot, although that mushroom soup totally slapped. No cap for real. Cold Warrior, I just got out of work and have 4 days off.
I have turned off my political mind. I will soothe my brain tomorrow night at the Rammstein show with my kids. With my kids, Kiwi and Shakespeare hate me. Sparky, without HM Queen Elizabeth II, globalists will erase any remaining British culture. She's key in holding the remnants of it together. She hasn't done a very good job now, has she? Get a life, bend that knife. Ginniarella. Hi, Sticks. Thanks for your consistent and informative vids. Has your prediction for the New York governor race shifted? Many seem more fed up with Hochul than ever. We will be talking about her anti-gunnery in a bit here. But no, I still think she has the advantage. I mean, it's New York slop. If Zeldin manages to get in there, Jesus, that would be certainly a bellwether for the Democrats getting clobbered. Baker Boy, Sticks, the Greek flag needs help. Send the army. No, we're not doing Pixel Planet today, although people can choose to go to pixelplanet.fun and go to Turkey and start coloring it in with the Greek blue if you want to. I think we're just going to pivot to taking over the rest of the African continent, honestly. G3 PowerBook 335. Thank you, Sticks. Well, you're welcome. Spider Eternal. Favorite underappreciated movie? Trump Paul 2024. Black Moon by Louis Malle. Or Ninth Gate, which is actually a Polanski film. You don't have to like him, but it's got Johnny Depp, so you can't go wrong with everything. Yeah, they're both underappreciated. By the way, Depp in Sleepy Hollow would certainly be up there. Or the second Jurassic Park movie that for some reason a lot of people didn't like it. I don't understand. Lost World was a good movie. Ground Floor Guthrie. Off topic. Last week, someone asked you about linguistic books, and while you spoke about not having written on the topic yourself, you didn't provide any recommendations. What titles would you recommend? I don't have any to recommend. I don't remember which books I actually was reading for it when I was in the college course. I was absorbing the ideas rather than the titles of the author and so forth. Mr. Wonderful. Australia will finally cast off the monarchy after she passes, but I fear the void will be filled by the race-grifting leftists that are spreading here. It seems like you don't have to worry that dystopia is already upon you. Silver Kestrel. Sticks, we need clanker support on the Falklands. The Argentinians have taken it. I don't care about the Falklands. Maybe we'll take it over for clankdom someday. Battle Elf. Why did disgraced MAGA Republican Texas AG Ken Paxton block the release of Uvalde 911 calls? I have no clue. Yidris. My point was that she allowed babies to die because it was too expensive to save them. She should share that fate. Yeah, I think when you're 96, if you're on bed rest, the writing, again, is eventually on the wall. I don't think there's much you can do to save somebody. Assuming her condition is actually beyond just, hey, you know, we want you to take it easy for a couple days. We're worried about you. That's nothing. When you say she's resting comfortably to the press, that is a little bit of an indicator that things are worse than just that. Closet Scholar. I do not always super chat, but when I do, it's $2. Dennis. The mass primary governor winner is endorsed by a certain fella. Cindy Drellick sent 1999, but no comment. Thank you anyway. Hink Hall, clank clank for diapers. Now we go through a lot of those. Jesus Christ. Next story. David Hogg actually getting mentioned. Brief relevance here. David is getting mentioned by someone who actually has relevancy. The Second Amendment is a collective, not an individual right. Hamilton knew this. See Federalist Paper 29. As did the courts for several hundred years. The modern version of the Second Amendment only exists because of decades of work by the gun lobby to change what the Second Amendment meant. Of course, he's actually the inverse of correct. There was literally no gun control in the United States prior to 1876, number one. Number two, it was never a collective right anyway. It was never framed that way for white citizens, David, only for people who were Black or Native American. I see you're using the same argument that other anti-gunners are, which is quite literally based on the logic of the Ku Klux Klan. I know you say that the party's flipped, but you still seem to be supporting at least one aspect of their belief system. And the fact is that right always existed as an individual one. It was never collective. That's why it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. The people are individuals under U.S. law. You can further point out one further thing, and that's that no other amendment is subject to that kind of logic by leftoids. They don't say the First Amendment is a collective right. They don't say the Fourth Amendment is a collective right. Well, the people in general have a right to privacy, but you don't because, you know, we don't like you and you're just an individual, so fuck you. The right to not have soldiers quartered in your home is not just a collective right. It's an individual right. You own property.
The government can't come in and say, hey, you know, these soldiers need a bunk, so fuck off. The right to a speedy and fair public trial, and so forth and so forth. None of them are collective rights. They're collective only in the sense that the entire collective happens to individually share them. The same is true for the Second Amendment. The militia is comprised of individuals capable of mustering in times which they need to do so. But they can't do that unless they individually bear their arms to begin with. They wouldn't have the training. They wouldn't have the arms. It wouldn't make any sense. And the fact is that there was, again, let me reiterate, zero gun control in the United States for the first roughly 80 years of its existence. Not a single person involved with the Federalist Papers or the drafting of the Constitution was alive by that time. They had all died. Not a single one of them ever made a single argument in favor of gun control of any kind, with the exception of taking guns from violent lunatics, but they were never given them in the first place. That was understood at the time. So, gaslighting David Hogg. Brief relevance for little Davy here, being completely wrong. And he said, you can disagree with this all you want. I'm entitled to my own opinion, as are you. I believe it was the liberals who used to say you're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts. And the fact is that briefly quoting, or in your case, not even quoting Hamilton, to the exclusion of the entire rest of the Federalist Papers on the issue, is pretty goddamn funny. If you want to make an anti-gun argument, using the Federalist Papers is not the greatest strategy in the world, just to be clear. He said, false claim Ronald Reagan quote on firearms and ammo. He's quoting Ronald Reagan now. We've broken the minds of the leftoids, you know, from the MAGA perspective, so much that they will actually quote Ronald Reagan to try to drum up support for anti-gun laws. We're in the weirdest timeline ever. All right. Joker 1 on Rumble. For the Queen story, use BBC. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. Yanori, he's beaten Sam Harris, but how does Ron Perlman stack up against Brooklyn Dad Defiant on TDS? Who wins with more TDS? Ronnie Donnie. That's a hard one. Brooklyn Dad Defiant has worse TDS. Ron Perlman has worse derangement syndrome in general. By the way, he blocked me on Twitter. I find that a big compliment to be blocked by that asshole in the first place. Writer of the Metal Horse, do you think that values came first or religion? Did the values create religion or vice versa? I think that basic tribal values predate religious behavior. Religious behavior being ritualistic behavior initially. We see it potentially in Neanderthals. We certainly see it in archaic Homo sapiens. But they clearly had some sub-organizational capabilities before then, before there was what we would consider organized religion. Sparky. Prime Minister and HM have weekly meetings. Maybe sickness a globalist ruse to keep HM and Liz Truss apart so Truss doesn't receive wise counsel? No, I don't think so, since her hands were literally fucking jet blue the other day. That's usually related to a heart condition. Gonson, what in the world even is a collective right? You've got me on that one. The right of the people to eat breakfast shall not be infringed. Oh, look, it's a collective. The people can eat breakfast, but you as a single person can't. The Copper Owl, can I base a druid on you for my cameo in my book? Yeah, you don't need my permission for that unless you use my proper name. Yoki, Sticks, I feel like you might enjoy an indie game called Vintage Story. It's a Minecraft-like but comfier and with a focus on homesteading and survival. I'd rather do some actual homesteading and survival in real life. I want to get back into gardening as soon as possible. Next story. The Trump special master ruling violates the principle that no one is above the law by Lawrence H. Tribe and Dennis Aftergut. Very, very interesting name. Isn't Aftergut, wouldn't that be the anus, actually? It's quite fitting. Judge Eileen Cannon's opinion screams out that she applies more lenient rules to Donald Trump. Yes, indeed. Under any other circumstances, the FBI can take whatever it wants from your home, hold it indefinitely, judge it to be perfectly appropriate to review it, and totally exceed warrant powers. See, that's not the way that it actually works. I'm scratching my head as far as trying to find another case of such overreach. If one did exist, probably the case would be tossed out on day one by a higher judge. If you sign a warrant, an obvious fishing expedition for someone's home, and you say, look, I think that they have paperwork that shows that they're embezzling money from their company. We need their receipts. We need their records, their books, literally. We need to go through their computer and say, we think that they've embezzled $500,000. We need to raid them. We can't take the risk of knocking first. We have to raid their home because we're afraid they'll burn the papers, they'll delete the hard drives, they'll bleach bit them or something. So we need to go in. And the judge says, okay. And you go in and you requisition the computer and the tax paperwork and shit, stuff from their business. But then you also take their entire book collection. You take their underwear. You take an empty safe. You take their fucking flannel shirt. You take their guns. You take the portrait of them hanging above the mantelpiece and a candelabra, and you take some of their food. And you pile it in the storeroom and say, okay, this is all pertinent to our search. What individual, if they have a competent legal team in the land, would not be able to argue before the judge, look, somebody else needs to look through what was taken because there's cans of peas missing, my candelabra that I stuff in my ass is gone, my portrait is gone, the shitty portrait that was made of me by an artist named Adolf back in the 1930s, that one's gone too. They've stolen a bunch of shit from me, and they're not giving me a reason why they're keeping it because it couldn't possibly have anything to do with their investigation. A higher judge has stepped in and appointed a special master because there are things there that are clearly not pertinent to the investigation. Read the fucking warrant. That's all you have to do. Did these people not read the warrant, or is their Trump derangement syndrome so strong that they refuse to read it because it'll countermand exactly what they're saying? Of course, the latter is probably the case. Dylan Jones sent $1.99 without a comment. Thank you very much. We'll check on Queen Elizabeth in a minute. By the way, it's raining again. I like this weather. Perfect day for fucking cottage pie. Disclosed TV, just in, California to declare level 3 grid emergency, one step away from rolling power outages. Consumers advised to be prepared for possible outages. They only had some sporadic issues because people, disconnected everything. Folsom, California. The California Independent System Operator is alerting Californians to be ready for potential rotating power outages on Tuesday evening, as the hottest weather of this historic heat wave is forecast to push electricity demand to an all-time high. If outages are initiated, consumers can expect to receive notifications from power providers on areas affected and time duration. Now, they managed to keep it from becoming an out-of-control situation by begging people effectively, please, during peak heat hours, don't turn your AC all the way up. Don't have 5 fans going at the same time. Disconnect a couple of things and just sort of wait it out. Go to the pool instead of, sitting in your refrigerator or something. And so they managed to avert disaster. I do believe that Gavin Newsom and some of his cohorts were rambling about how evil Texas was for its own grid problems not that long ago. Well, look at them. Haha, them Texans down there can't manage a power grid. Oh, by the way, everyone, please disconnect your computer at noon today because it's going to be too hot and the grid can't handle it. Come on. Number one, look at the hypocrisy. Number two, look at the problem with the Green New Deal ethos that Newsom and the Californian government are pushing. They're trying to push all gas-powered cars out of the state. If everyone in California was using an electric vehicle, a coal-powered vehicle, coal, nuclear, gas, and oil, etc., there is oil involved in energy production, just so people are aware. The grid would have fried out completely. The grid would have failed. Just to be clear, it would not have been able to keep up with the strain. There are pictures now, people using generators to power their EVs, like propane generators, hooked to the back of their cars. Well, I guess that's one way of solving the problem of electric vehicles being pieces of shit. Cold Warrior, my message was blocked by YouTube. It was anti-British royalty. I'm in Boston. I have no use for European monarchies. Should study the Dutch monarchy. They do a lot better than the British one. I'm against the concept of having monarchs, but if you're going to have them, if it's just sort of for decoration and they're not like total weirdos, it's better than the British royal family, which is like a live-action soap opera. So I don't think you can get much lower than the British monarchy. Sparky. Once tribes had over 50 members, religion was necessary to make large civilization possible in those days. False. Organization was necessary, but that doesn't require religion. It doesn't require a priesthood or any ritual behaviors related to spiritual belief systems, which wouldn't have been quantified anyway at the time. People were basically still in point and grunt mode. Sketch therapy. Will Trump stop asset forfeiture after suffering it? I would hope so. Civil asset forfeiture is clearly unconstitutional. Jim Morrison, New Hampshire primary, September 13th. The left say Don Bullock, the most extreme rep in the contest, will be too far right to knock out incumbent Dem Hassan. Possible. Hassan has been ahead in most polling. I guess Hochul deleted her tweet here. Let's see if we can bring up an archive. This is why you should archive everything. We have another news story. We might not be able to cover it directly. We'll skip to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez while I see if that loads. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez mocked for GQ magazine feature. Wait, what? AOC argued that Americans are too misogynistic to elect a woman president. Yes, this is her campaign pitch for the future. For all of you leftoids out there that want AOC 2028 or whatever it would be, AOC is saying that Americans are generally sexist. They're misogynistic pigs. Do you think that that will go over well, or do you think that that will justify the people that do have those views while rankling those that don't? I'm thinking probably the latter. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was slammed on Twitter Wednesday after GQ magazine featured her for its cover story. Really, it's a fluff piece. They have her like doing poses and dresses and weird shit and saying crazy shit. In her interview with GQ, Ocasio-Cortez said that so many Americans deeply and unconsciously, as well as consciously, hate women. She also advocated for unlimited access to abortion and argued that Democrats must perform well in the midterm elections in order to combat the very real threat of fascism. Yes, fascism. It's not a surprise when it comes from somebody like her, though. And this is just partially a rebuttal of her bullshit. Nathan Brand, GOP communications director, criticized Ocasio-Cortez's contempt for our constitutional system. Yeah, the other part is that right-wing extremism is so prevalent, you have to get rid of the right to a fair and speedy trial. He tweeted in a GQ cover story, AOC theorizes about being president, but is worried about the checks and balances of the other branches of government. This isn't just an AOC problem, though. This is most recent presidents. If anything, the only one that was properly constrained was Trump. That should scare people. Cruel on Rumble. The Queen's mother lived to something like 106, so hold off the Deadpool until it actually happens. Yeah, but again, if there's an indicator that Elizabeth is in poor health and they say she's resting comfortably, that terminology, linguistically speaking, is often used for palliative care. Like, hey, we don't expect her to make it, but we're going to make her comfortable. Don't worry, we'll get plenty of opium from one of her Commonwealth countries. Battle Elf. Could it be AG Paxton blocks release of Uvalde 911 calls because 376 Popo did nothing wrong under Gonzalez v. Castle Rock and police state exposed? Well, the police in Uvalde clearly did wrong. There were an enormous number of them there, and they failed completely. If you listen to what the leftoids say about it, the shooter had long enough to use an AR-15 of all weapons to turn people into Swiss cheese. Well, this is clearly not the case, and DNA samples were taken so the parents wouldn't have to see their dead kids riddled with bullets. That's what they claim. Shit, you need a long time to turn somebody into a block of undifferentiated meat with an AR-15. Give them a 50 cal, it'll be a lot quicker work. Vermont girls, we love any guy from a big city. Yeah. Actually, a lot of Vermont girls are quite, rustic, would prefer going to the fair and riding horses. Cindy Drellick, 1999, no comment, thank you. Miku 4xBot, PolitiFact is saying Biden didn't know of the raid and incumbent president met the National Archives asking the FBI back in May, please drag it. Yes, that is false. Biden had to have known that a raid would occur, even if he didn't know when he decided to revoke executive privileges without telling Trump and his legal counsel. He had to have known that because it would be an inevitability. That's number one. Number two, the incumbent president that is mentioned in that report is clearly Joe Biden. It can't be anybody else. It was not the National Archives. And in fact, I do not believe that's even particularly claimed by PolitiFact. A Sleek Bandito, what's your opinion on alternative voting systems like single transferable vote? Don't know about that one. I think the old voting system worked best, especially prior to digitization. Seemed to work fine for 200 years. We're using only paper ballots in person with the exception of a handful of absentees for soldiers and diplomats. And nobody ever complained about that system, with the exception of in the Jim Crow era, pioneered by the Ku Klux Klan / the Democratic Party, ironically. Nobody ever had a problem with that. Battle Elf. Was Uvalde a state-sponsored? I can't read the rest of that because it would fall too far outside of YouTube's TOS. People can read it anyway. I don't even know if I'm allowed to click it to put it on the screen on YouTube, actually. My apologies. You might be able to get your $5 back, by the way. Yeah, unfortunately, the Kathy Hochul tweet over there, I'm not 100% sure that anyone archived it. Let's check somebody run it through the Wayback Machine. I mean, it did have quite a few responses. We'll see if it's there. Sparky, communism can work with 50 people. Doesn't scale up. Yeah, exactly. No, it's not on the Wayback Machine either. Anyway, Hochul was talking about guns again, which naturally means that, she's deeply anti-gun. I can't, unfortunately, remember the exact tweet, though. We'll try one last archive here, but I don't have much hope because it's the least trafficked of them. Archive.st. By the way, archive.st can actually archive Fox links. Archive.is is having trouble with them. So what I've been doing is running them through the first archive and then archive.today. Fox is attempting to block archives, it seems, unfortunately. Michael Cricklow, I challenge you to a seafood chowder competition. I like seafood chowder. I make a good seafood boil. Unfortunately, nobody actually archived the Hochul tweet, it seems. I'll try to process it through archive.today again. I know the clankers that help to get news tips typically used archive.is. God damn, that sucks. In the meantime, we'll look up more Queen Elizabeth. I'll probably keep this a little bit short today. Yeah, she's under medical supervision for anyone that didn't see before. By the way, we've got 5,000 people watching live cross-platform. Just give me a moment, everyone. I'm trying to... God damn. I know, this is why I should archive everything myself. The one time that I don't, nobody else bothered to do so. Whoops. Yeah. Queen Elizabeth's doctors, concerned for Her Majesty's health, recommend medical supervision. Then she's under medical supervision. And then her health is deteriorating. Oh, she's not expected to make it. Her family is rushing to be at her side. I mean, I can believe that. It's plausible. 96 years old. She clearly had some weird shit going on with her hands the other day. But we don't exactly know anything further than that. Watch as the legacy media decides to completely blow it out of proportion. Imagine that she doesn't croak. Imagine that she... Oh, for the love of God. Oh, never mind. It came up anyway. Queen's doctors concerned for her health. Palace. The Queen is under medical supervision at Balmoral Castle, but remains comfortable, Buckingham Palace says. It's so important they've got it on here twice on BBC. Come on, give us a live update. How was her last stool that passed? Or did she pass a stool in the last 12 hours? How many times per minute is she breathing, Governor? A Dalai Lama. Apparently all of Queen Elizabeth's children and grands are at Balmoral Castle. Well, yeah, I mean, if they think there's any possibility of a significant health crisis, then naturally you'd hope that your family cares enough to show up. Yeah. Now, this is actually live. Speaker updates Parliament on Queen's health. I would watch that, but it'd be copyright claim probably. Yeah, they're concerned for her health following further evaluation this morning. But the palace adds the 96-year-old monarch remains comfortable, which is pointless to say that, especially in that specific manner. Oh, don't worry, we're making her comfortable. Don't worry, my dog is dying of cancer, but I've made him comfortable. That's basically what it evokes in imagery now, isn't it? Unless the British have a totally different usage. Did she manage to urinate this morning? What are her blood culture levels? And, you know, it is all the battery of tests. They're probably pestering the poor family. There's probably like 1,000 reporters right now out before the palace on the lawn. It's probably like a fucking party, and probably half of them are drunk too. You know, I mean, it is Thursday morning and it is in England, well, Scotland. So if she dies, whoever takes over as monarch will be celebrating by eating haggis. Thank you, Scotland, for killing her. You know that these people are not quite all there, right? They're completely inbred. Yeah, unfortunately, nobody bothered to archive the Hochul tweet. Unless I'm putting it in wrong. Somebody's saying I might be doing that. Just a second here. That would be hilarious. I don't think so, though. I think I got it right the first time. Oh no, I was wrong. Yeah, you're correct. I must have copied that wrong. My apologies. That's on me. Whoops. I clanked myself in the ass. Governor Kathy Hochul, everyone needs to do their part to combat gun violence. American Express, MasterCard, and Visa should categorize firearm purchases and flag suspicious activity, just like they do for millions of other transactions. Together, we can help stop gun trafficking and keep New Yorkers safe. Let me ask this. How are you going to flag a suspicious purchase at a gun shop? So is it a person has never bought a gun before, they decided to buy one, it gets flagged and it gets shut down or something like that? I'm sorry, your credit card's been declined, sir. You're not allowed to buy a gun because you have to call up Visa and get this problem resolved. That'll make a whole lot of sense. It'll save a whole lot of people. The first thing that you would do if you stole someone's credit card is you would go to the gun shop and try to buy a firearm, knowing that you still have to fill out a background check form, knowing that you may not know the PIN number too. That's the perfect place to get the PIN number bounced and get all sweaty and suspicious looking in front of the brawny dude there with the fucking pit bull next to him that has a shotgun in back of him and a fucking 9mm on his holster. That's exactly what I would do if I were a gangbanger. I totally wouldn't just sell the credit card on the fucking black market or something to some Russian. Shark Denture, she is being cared for by the country's top medical specialists in what is the equivalent of a 6-star hotel. Of course she is comfortable. Yeah, the reporters should keep an eye out for unmarked vans showing up and delivering medical equipment. They might be able to deduce what she has wrong from it. I'm not joking, by the way. Why are people mentioning Ron Jeremy over Rumble? What, did he go to Buckingham Palace at one point? There'd be some bucking going on. They'd call it Buckingham Palace when he shows up. Yeah, I think he's blamed for rape at the moment. So yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on if you hate monarchism, Queen Elizabeth is currently under medical care. I'm not sure exactly what's the problem. Nobody else does. You're probably going to get an update later. The update will be either she's just fine, don't worry, she had a spell or something. The doctors just did this out of an abundance of caution. If you don't get an update fairly quickly, because this is a morning news story, to be clear, just to be clear, if you do not get an update in the next 12 hours or so, that's probably not a great sign, because they would be very speedy to come out and tell people, look, she had a medical condition. It's nothing serious. She just got evaluated. And now she's sleeping it off. We gave her some fucking laudanum or something. They would do that. But if they don't update people, it means that they don't want to update people. And the only reason for that is that it's a dire situation. So we'll keep an eye on it for the rest of the day and probably into tomorrow. Bony Eyes Jenkins. By the way, please no more super chats. We're going up on an hour. Hey, Sticks, love your channel. Do you make your own bone broth? I do in a slow cooker. Makes the soups and stews amazingly delicious. Cheers. No, at the moment, I'm still just using bouillon because I can't always get ingredients like that. Hell Radio lives. Just saying, but wasn't the Queen was just weekend with Bernie for the past couple of years anyway? Yeah, she looks better than Biden, though, even though she's, 16 years older, I think. Ron Jeremy, Jesus. Anyway, I think that I'm going to go offline. And yeah, people can pile on to Pixel Planet, but keep in mind there is a link in the description, cross-platform, as well as at the top of chat on YouTube pinned. Please go to the Grifties and vote for both myself and for the Styx Hexenhammer Cat on the Grifty Awards. That's the big project of the day. If you want to do Pixel Planet, I might make a video later for that. I may not. Sparky, HMQE2, canned Aussie PM in 75. Hope that she cans Trudeau. Would leave on an even greater legacy. It's played off, but legally she's quite powerful. Yeah, but I think the Canadians would immediately vote to leave the Commonwealth if that happened. They would defend their Führer, Justin Trudeau, because they're masochistic at this point. That's about all. Peace out.